Now let's talk about hot topic is politics. Mm, yeah, so you all know that politics in China is not a topic to be talked on media platforms, and uh, so I'm not like going directly to address it, but there's been definitely a change, especially with the social media. People are starting to get closer to reality than it was before because they do read a lot of books, and the stories that are written in the books are not always real. And so it's it's changing. Like there's things that cannot be done in China, such as directly say something about the president, or directly speak about um, the unity of China. And one core value of Chinese society is definitely unity. Uh, they are afraid that the country, if losing in a democratic way, will separate in minor entities. And I mean, to be fair, like I do think provinces in China do have a good degree of freedom over the central government in Beijing. And it's not bad because, I mean, it's it's idealistic to think that China will change into a democracy overnight, and it's definitely not going to happen until they will feel safe enough, and until they feel integrated enough in the world, or recognized. Yes, exactly. Chinese one Chinese sentiment wants to be recognized, wants to get recognition worldwide. You know, Chinese people care so much about, saying this is China, and this is us, and this is what we are, and you should accept this. You should accept us. And I do think that it does a good job on showcasing itself. Like Chinese culture is amazing, and can be beautiful and challenging at the same time. Um, but the pursuit of recognition just for the sole meaning of being recognized could be a fallacy, in my view again. So well, another way is that Chinese people. So this explains a lot about Chinese people in the fact that they see themselves as an entity, and they see themselves as a unity, which brings us to collectivism. So collectivism is another factor of Chinese society. Chinese people are they've got individualism too. Don't get me wrong, but when you walk on the streets of China, I'm a white tall guy, so I do attract some high sight, and but on average, like Chinese people rarely look at each other if they don't have some business to do. I wouldn't say they ignore each other. They kind of like mesh into each other. They kind of like become part of only one entity. And this is why, although there's so many people, they can all live peacefully, in a way. Which peaceful brings us to another topic. So peaceful, or peace, or harmony, again, is another very interesting topic of China and Chinese people. Harmony is a pursuit of this society, and they love the idea that the world can live in peace. And how to say, and we can see that in history, in the history of China, where China was just an entity, a single entity that coexisted with other countries but never waged war. And it was more the time that China was invaded than China invading other countries. This trend changed a bit after the establishment of the Communist Party, because they kind of like joined into the worldwide politics. They realized they addressed themselves not anymore as superior entity above all humans being, but they realized that they needed to protect themselves, and sometimes that would have mean invasion. And we can see the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and I don't know if there's any other, but so China philosophically changed in the early 20th century. Yes, they had a big shift after what they called the 100 year of humiliation. And yeah, it's interesting, right? I would say, Chinese people are noble, very noble. They pursued the purity of the soul, although they don't really believe in heaven. And this is what makes a difference, the bigger difference with our Western society, is that, we're gonna go to heaven someday, so we might as well do some evil stuffs, as long as, before we departure, we do some, how to say, we redeem ourselves before we die in order to achieve the door of paradise. But for Chinese people, this concept doesn't exist. So they see the earth as the heaven. And therefore, they try their best to make it so that this earth becomes the heaven. And it's a complete different approach compared to the Western society, which knows that we've fallen from the Eden with Adam and Eve. But because they don't have this, they tend to be more noble. They tend to be more realistic, and they tend to be more united and Therefore, they tend to approach on a harmony and peace, because they know that once they're gone. Yeah.